So in today's video, we're going to be talking through a simple hiking workout that you can use on the trail to help improve your speed while hiking. Now, this particular workout is called a fartlek hiking workout. And fartlek is just a fancy way of saying just playing around with different speeds. Now, this is a workout that a lot of people will naturally give a go, but I want to talk through a few specific tips because it can be really useful. So ultimately, the people who may use this particular workout is there's many hikers out there who just struggle to keep up with other hikers. Maybe they're just naturally a little bit slower and they struggle to keep up with their friends. Maybe they're just naturally really cautious and they just struggle to really maintain quicker speeds. Or maybe they have a hike coming up where they're like, you know what, actually I need to improve my speed. I need to make certain weather windows. I need to make sure I get through things in a certain amount of time, and they just want to improve their speed or whatever it might be. Now, one of the problems that can come when we are looking at improving our speed, and if we are going out on trails and trying to keep up with quicker people or just naturally improve our speed, if we just go out and just do this and just try to do really quick hikes and just sustain quicker speeds for a huge amount of time, this can sometimes be a little bit tricky because ultimately if we are hiking at speeds that we're just not used to, and if we're doing this out on the trail and trying to sustain this for long periods of time, number one, this is going to fatigue us much quicker. When we are walking quicker, walking outside of our natural pace, we're going to be burning a lot more energy. And therefore, we will get tired quicker. Sometimes this can be not much fun. On top of that, when we are pushing these quicker speeds, sometimes aches and pains can be aggravated because a lot of hikers out there struggle with things like foot pain, knee pain, ankle pain, hip pain, stuff like that. And one of the instigators of this type of thing getting flared up is sometimes when we bump up our speed and push things a little bit too much, those muscles and those areas are not used to these forces, and that can sometimes lead to a bit of aggravation. So trying to bump up our speed, whether it's just keeping up with quicker hikers or just going out and doing quick hikes, sometimes can be a little bit tricky. So we want to be a little bit smart about this. Now, there's a bunch of different things you can do when it comes down to improving your speed on the trail. But today we're going to be just talking through a simple workout on that. And ultimately what we're looking with this workout is practicing and training your ability to go faster on the trail, and literally just practicing this and exposing the body to this type of thing can be a really good way just to help you feel a bit more natural at these speeds and expose the body to these types of stresses. So in the future, you're at less risk of accumulating so much fatigue. And in the future, you're at less risk of aggravating those aches and pains if we can gently expose the body to this. Now, this workout is really simple. All you're going to do is you're going to go out for a normal hike. And this could be any distance of hike or just a normal, regular hike for you. And for the majority of the hike, you're just doing your normal pace, whatever that is. And then in amongst that hike, during that, you're going to sort of hike along and you're going to see a landmark in front of you. A tree, a pole, a rock, or whatever it may be. Something that's in the distance. And what you're going to do, you're going to look at that landmark and then you're just going to bump up your speed and go really quick up to that landmark. Now, this isn't a run. It's not a case of you have to absolutely jog. This doesn't have to be a full-on power march, but we want to bump up our speed intentionally up to that landmark. And then essentially once you reach that landmark, whether it's a rock or pole or whatever it may be, then you just go back down to your normal pace and continue on. And essentially throughout the hike, you just basically just want to accumulate periods of you doing this. It doesn't have to be huge and hundreds of these because that can be not much fun in itself, but I like to start with just like 10 times during the hike, and you just get 10 different periods where you bump up this speed. Really simple, but a great way of just exposing the body to these speeds, challenging yourself on this terrain, and just doing it in a way that's just not going to absolutely overload you. Now, a few simple tips on this, to wrap this up. When you are speeding up, one thing that a lot of people will naturally do is they will increase the speed and they're like, you know what, I'm just going to take bigger steps. And they take bigger steps and really stride out. Now, this isn't a big deal for some people, but sometimes taking these large steps, it can lead to some aggravation in the hamstrings and the hips, not much fun. And we don't want that on the trail. So what I typically recommend here is if you are going a little bit quicker, try not to increase the length of your steps too much. You will a little bit, but try not to exaggerate that too much. Instead, what I recommend is just really try to increase the power and the speed of each step. So keep the length relatively similar, but just try to give a bit more oomph on each step and just turn your legs over a bit quicker. I personally believe that's a little bit better in this situation. Now, also on top of that, if you're not confident with balance and stability, and if you're like, I sometimes have a bit of a trip or sometimes a little bit worried or whatever it may be, if you are not confident with this, just make sure you do this on simple terrain. So don't do this on complicated terrain. Don't do this on really rough stuff. Do it on something that's flat, something that's simple, or whatever it may be. So you choose the simplest parts of your hike to do this on. And the rest of the more complicated stuff, then you just do whatever pace you want. And then like with any other type of training, over time, we want to progress this. We don't want to just do the same thing again and again and again and again because the body's not going to really keep on getting better. So we want to think about progressing this. So ultimately, every time you do this, you just want to choose something to make it a little bit harder. You could do more. So you could do 10 times in the first hike, 12 times in the next hike, 14 times, and just keep on doing a little bit more each time. You could intentionally choose further away landmarks. So the first time you do it, it may just be like 50 meters or whatever it may be, or 20 meters or something that's pretty short. But then the next time you do something that's intentionally longer each time and you challenge that. Or you could kind of keep the same, but intentionally just go a bit quicker each time and just go quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker until after a few weeks you are at that full-on power march. Or even you could just add a bit of pack weight. You could do the same hike and the same amount of times each time, but you just add an extra kilo each time you hike. This can be a great way of just exposing the body to extra stresses. This works well enough. Or you could do a combination of these things. It doesn't really matter, just as long as over time you are making things a little bit more difficult for yourself. But all in all, this Fartlek hiking workout, it's dead simple. And a lot of people will naturally do this already. But if you haven't heard of it before, or if you haven't tried it, it can be a really good way of exposing the body to those quicker speeds, helping you keep up with quicker hikers, and do it in a way which is not going to absolutely overwhelm you. So any questions of that, please let me know, but hopefully that makes sense.